In this session, we're going to focus on a foundational exercise of our stepping and footwork in Tai Chi, which I call pouring water. Hi, I'm Grant Kleiman from Darsana Martial Arts. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you'd like to support us or join our online academy, there are links in the description. All right, let's get to the lesson. Hello and welcome to this 5th session of our 10-minute Tai Chi series. To begin, just take a moment in the Wuji stance, feet about shoulder width apart and parallel. Suspend from the crown of the head so the back of the neck feels gently lengthened. The head is level. Shoulders are centered front to back and relaxed. Elbows very slightly bent so that the joints are open. Palms are full and facing the sides of the body. Allow a wave of release from the shoulders all the way down through the torso to the hips and then down through the legs and feet into the ground. The first phase of the exercise is to simply guide the release of our weight down through our body, from head to shoulders to chest to waist, hip, through the back of the knee and through the bottom of the foot. And as we do this, we want to notice that our whole body shifts over just a little bit, not because we're pushing it to the side or leaning it to the side, but because we are releasing vertically downward through the foot into the ground. So it's a kind of draining or siphoning the weight from one leg and over and down to the other. This is done through the release of tension and the use of the mind to guide an inner feeling of an almost hydraulic-like shift of pressure downward through the body, through the foot into the ground. And we're just going to do the same thing to the other side. Suspend the head, relax the shoulders, and sink down through the bottom of the right foot into the ground. Again, it's like the weight and density of the body is draining out through the foot into the ground. And then back in the other direction. Now, this should be done quite slow, a kind of thick, syrupy movement inside the body. And then we stay just for a moment over one foot and then back to the other. You want to watch out for leaning the upper torso in order to shift the weight over to that foot, or swinging the hips and pelvis over to that side. The body should remain vertical from head to tailbone. And what this will do in part is start to cause the head of the thigh bone to rotate in the hip socket as the pelvis and the center of gravity draws over one foot or is drawn over the other foot. Moving on to the next phase, as we sink over to the other leg, we're going to empty more fully the opposite leg. So we'll lift the heel, let the foot kind of rise up onto the toe pad, and then we'll set the heel back down in preparation to sink into the leg. As we continue to sink, we'll lift the opposite heel and set it down. Again, the feeling should be that the body is being drawn over and down towards the foot because of a fluid internal motion of gravity moving through the body, through the structure, through the tissues, through the joints, not by squatting down into the leg per se, although the joints may soften and bend a little bit as the weight is received, in the way that a spring may bend as weight loads onto it. And we're also not pushing from the emptying foot. We're lifting the heel as the burden of weight is brought over to the other side. So in the same way that a spring will lengthen and expand as a load is removed from it. And so what we want to feel is this kind of yin-yang oscillation. You may or may not notice that inside the quad, as we sink down, there's a kind of spiral, like it's funneling or flushing down towards the foot, and specifically towards the yang chuan points. And as that happens, it may cause the dantian to want to rotate a little bit. And this may rotate the pelvis, it may rotate the whole structure of the body, so that the body will slightly turn toward the side of the empty foot. Now you may not feel that, and it's not necessary, and it may be so small and so subtle that you neither see it nor feel it in any kind of obvious way. But this is part of the way that silk reeling and sinking and exchanging pressure, internal pressure, down through one leg and up through the other, starts to inform the natural internal spirals of the body, which are ultimately expressed in chanchi or silk reeling movement. Just don't make it a large turn of the whole hip carriage. It should be happening inside. And the dantian is not the pelvis. The pelvis is simply a bone structure that surrounds the region of the dantian, which at this level of analysis is really just a nexus, a kind of central axis for three-dimensional spiraling movement throughout the whole body. Once we become comfortable with this phase of movement, we can begin to float the foot off the ground and draw it over, leaving it empty, and then stepping it back out to shoulder width and pouring. So this is the third phase of the pouring water exercise. Empty, float over, extend out, and then slowly pour the weight. At this phase, there's a couple of important things to watch out for. One is that as you float the foot over, you remain vertically aligned over the other foot. And what this means is not only do we not lean and counterbalance, but we also don't tense up. We remain relaxed and sinking. So drawing this foot over is almost like siphoning it or sucking it up and in towards the center and down and towards this foot as far as its inner contents, its density, the weight in which it carries. So it is drawn in. And then when we extend it out, we continue to sink down through the left foot, because every time we change the position of the foot, it changes the leverage on our body. It changes the force that the weight and motion of the leg exerts on our center. So as I extend my right leg, I'm sinking down through the left leg. And I touch it down, and already there's just a little bit more that wants to flow in. As a matter of fact, when you put the heel down, after doing this exercise for a while, you may almost feel that your body automatically begins to sink into that leg, because placing the whole foot down on the ground becomes a kind of signal to the inner energy of the body that it's ready to receive and transfer weight to and from the ground. When we just touch the balls of the foot and toe pads to the ground and leave the heel up like this, this is a signal that this leg is not going to be transferring force to and from the ground. It just remains empty, and in that case also remains mobile. So it's ready to step, ready to kick, ready to do any other kind of movement. So when we touch the heel down, we gently grip the ground with the toe pads, and this will sort of hollow out the yang chuan point a little bit and engage the foot. It just creates this effect that starts to draw us over. And you may not feel that yet, but over time, as you perform this exercise, practice your forms, and integrate this notion of movement into your steps, it will start to happen almost by itself. As you sink down, the leg just wants to come over. Once it's drawn in, it creates this gentle potential coiled in that wants to unfurl back out. So if you just break the contact of the foot with the ground, it wants to sort of uncoil into the step. If you want to take it just a little step further, you can draw the foot in and up. Again, as the foot rises up, there's an adjustment in the whole body around the dantian and mingmen area. So as the foot comes up, it's shifting, will move the whole body inside. So there'll be a whole spiral shift that ultimately sinks down and roots into the stable foot. And then as I extend it out, the body will naturally move, rotate, and extend. So there's a constant adjustment. It's not that I get over here, hold my position, and then pick this foot up, but rather as the foot is raised, as a continuous reciprocal action, I'm sinking down and the whole body is spiraling, and this will create gentle stretches around the low back and waist and so forth. It'll just sort of twist and tease the tissue on the two sides of the body in opposite directions. All right, we'll close here, breathe in and out. And we'll do this return to Wuji 3 times. Always when finishing Tai Chi or Qigong practice, Chan Shu Gong practice, we always return to Wuji, and this movement is usually performed 3 times, but it can be performed as many times as you want in order to restore a state of centered, gathered equilibrium, of unmanifest potential for motion. That's it for the pouring water exercise, which lays the foundation for all of our footwork, particularly in our method of Chen Tai Chi.